So you're going to college for either back to college or you've been in the military. Okay. Number one, out of the gate, crush it. That's what you should do in college. You should crush it. You should study hard and you should crush it. Now, in order to do that, you got to get a mindset. Because guess what you're going to be thinking when you get out of the military? You're going to be like, oh, this is no big deal. And this doesn't matter. You're going to be like, hey, I was in Iraq 8 months ago, or I was in Afghanistan 6 months ago, and now you're sitting here telling me to read a book and write down words on a piece of paper. This doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That's an easy path to go down. Mm. It's pretty easy to say. You know why? Because it's actually true. Yeah. And what you did in combat has more gravity and more consequence than anything you're going to do in college. And if you want to go down that path and be, this stuff doesn't matter, this isn't important compared to what I've done, so I'm going to blow it off, that's a path you can go down if you want to. I don't recommend it. What I recommend you doing is straight up crushing college. That's what I recommend you doing. How do you do that? Because if you make that decision that you want to crush it, if you want to make the decision that you're going to prove to people that, you know what, yeah, I was overseas, I was in combat, now I'm coming back, and your little games that you're playing, I'm going to beat you in your own games. Yep. So how do you do that? Number one, do the reading that you get assigned, do the assignments that you get tasked with, do everything. Let that be your new job. These silly little games that they're playing, let that be your job. Just like I was talking about OCS. When I went to OCS, I made that like a game for me that I was going to win. So do that with college. And then on top of that, make it a game, yes, but then on top of that, as a deeper commander's intent, make it that you're going to not just do well there as a game, but you're going to do well so you can get smarter. So you can really actually learn information that's going to make you a better person and give you better ability to dominate in the world. That's what you should be doing in college. Now, these kids that you're going to be going to college with, they're not going to have this attitude. They're going to be, hey, what do I need to do to get by? What's Sally doing tonight? I'm more concerned about that than I am about going out, dominating this course so that I can get an A, so that I have knowledge, so I can go and crush some vocation later on in life. So don't just do it as a game. You got to play the game a little bit. I mean, you got to, for me, I get the game mentality going, but the game mentality is rooted in something deeper. And what it's rooted in is gaining knowledge to be smarter and better as a human. Now, a couple things about college and the actual tactics, techniques, and procedures to dominate. Because when I went to college, I did dominate. And when I went to high school, I did not dominate. When I went to high school, I didn't care about high school. I was like, whatever. God, when can I go in the military? Like, can I go now? Mm-hmm. So, but when I went to college, I had a new attitude, which was, I'm going to dominate. I'm in a battle against these people here. I'm going to beat them. So there's some of the things that are important. Number one, college is all about time management. Getting ahead of the curve, because it's so easy. That's what happens with kids in college. That's why they don't do well, because for the first time, there's no one tracking them. No one's imposing discipline on them. You have to have, in order to do well in college, you have to have self-discipline, because no one's going to tell you to start that paper that's due in 6 weeks. No one's going to tell you to start it tomorrow. Yep. You can just blow it off. You can blow it off for 5.5 weeks, and then you've got to write a 30-page paper in 2 days, and it's not going to be quality.
Yep. No one's going to ask you, have you done your homework before dinner?
That's
or whatever.
right.
Like, man,
so you need to get the time management going. You need to get a disciplined time management schedule. You need to get ahead of the curve as early as possible. Right? When a paper's due, a 30-page paper, you need to write it in chunks. And it makes it so easy. I mean, it was a joke. When I was going to college, I would have my papers completely done like a week out. Yeah. Like a week out, I would be done with a 30-page paper. Yeah. And then I would just be reviewing it and getting it all completely dialed, and I'd turn it in 2 days early and then move on to the next one.
Yep.
Same thing with studying. You don't want to study. You do want to study hard right before the day of the test, but you want to have knowledge already absorbed in there. So you want to study leading up to that. When you do reading that I talked about, highlight. Break out the highlighters. That's what I do in all these books that we're hammering through right now. I always send out pictures of them. They're all highlighted and marked up. That's how I'm getting the good information out of them. Mm-hmm. So highlight, and then another little trick is to make the flashcards. I used to highlight, and then I would make flashcards about what I highlighted.
Yeah.
Turn everything into a question. Yep. And then you go through the flashcards, and you're gonna memorize stuff. Yep. Oh, here's the big one. This is really obvious, but guess what people don't do? Ask questions. Ask questions. I used to raise my hand. I would sit in the front row, first of all, in college. I sat in the front row. I was 20, what was I, 20? I think I was 27 or 28 years old going to college. I would sit in the front row in the little desk, and I looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger in like a little kid's
all
desk. Then I'd raise my hand all the way up, like all the way up over my head. And they'd be looking at me, because in college they kind of stop raising their hand, but I did it anyways, just to be
you,
just to do it. So I'd raise but you ask questions, because guess what? The college kids, they don't ask questions, and guess what? Adults don't ask questions. Why don't they ask questions? Because they got an ego. They don't want to look stupid.
Right. Yep.
I don't care.
Nope. I'm here to
win. Exactly. Oh, you don't think I'm smart? Let's check out the GPA, homeboy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So ask questions. And ask questions as soon as the knowledge, as soon as the understanding train starts to get derailed a little bit, ask the question right then. Maybe give it a minute to see if you can get it back on track by yourself. But the minute you realize you're not understanding, raise your hand and say, "Hey, you know what, teacher? I don't understand that. Can you re-explain that? Yep. Because I'm not understanding."
Yeah, you don't want to miss that train.
I don't want to miss the train. You don't want it to go too far off course.
Yep.
And then you're just lost.
Yep.
So when you feel it coming off, try and catch up real quick. Take a look, and then just raise your hand. Put your hand all the way up in the air. Sit in the front row. Put your hand all the way up in the air, and look at the teacher with a dead serious face, and they're going to look at you all nervous and be like, "Yes."
Yeah.
That's the only. When I went to college, they called me John. Because that's what the attendance sheet said, because my real name is John, and that's what the attendance sheet said. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be sitting there, and they'd say, "Yes, John?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I don't understand that. Could you re-explain it, please?"
Hey, when they called you John, did that fuel the fire?
No, not at all. It doesn't matter to me, but it's the only time, because I didn't know these people. Because normally if I'm going to work with someone, when I introduce myself, I'll be like, "Hey, my name is Jocko," because that's what everyone always calls me. Right. But these people would call my name in the attendance, and I didn't want to have this,
adversarial relationship.
Yeah, so I just, "Oh, yes, John, that's me." The other thing is, do some psychological warfare. I would line up my pencils. I do it on the podcast, you boy, right here. I line up pencils. It's also getting into character.
Right. You're priming yourself.
I'm priming myself. I'm looking at the teacher like, I am so ready to take notes that if I have a downed pencil, it will not cost me a single letter. I'll be back in the game.
All your contingency pencils.
Yeah, contingency pencils are standing by. And then, so sit in the front row, line up your pencils, have your notebooks ready, personally challenge the teacher. You want your personal challenge to be to pull every piece of knowledge out of them and then go beyond what they know. I was competing with the teachers. I was trying to learn more than they actually knew. And then they bring their little tests or little exams to you, and you just crush them and smash them. Now, the thing you got to be careful of here is this can get political. This can get political, and if you start being offensive with the way you act, if you start rubbing it in their face, then guess what? That can affect your grade. Yep. And part of the game here is to get a good grade. Yep. So it's a time for you to start building your relationship building skills, time to start building your leadership skills, because you're going to start manipulating the teacher, right? You want to make them think that you're actually super interested in the stupid crap class that they're teaching. I want them to think that. Now some classes you're going to love and you're going to learn a lot from. Mm-hmm. Like if you're into English and you get to take advanced grammar and syntax, you're going to be sitting in there like, yes, this is rocks. But there's going to be some classes you don't want to take. But you got to get in there and make your teacher think that you're super interested and super fired up to learn that thing, and that you're not just interested in the grade, but at the same time, they got to know that grade's important to you too. So you want to get along with them. And again, go into college. And if you're a veteran, you're representing all of us out there. So you should be going in there and just smashing college.